Good morning, everyone. I welcome you to this November 24th Municipal Planning Commission. Todd, are we good to go?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We have some company in the crowd, so we'll do a quick round of introductions. We'll start with Neil.
Good morning, Neil Johnson, Division 10.
Good morning, Amanda Philpott, Division 8.
Good morning, Ellen Unra, and I represent the countryside around the village of Rosemary.
Hi, I'm Greg Screever, Division 5, Lake Newell Resort and Castles.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kelly Chrisman, and I'm from the west side of the county, and I have the honor of chairing this meeting today.
Good morning, Arno Dirksen, Division 9, the GEM area.
Welcome, Matt Fensky, County Administrator.
Good morning, Holly Johnson, Division 4, Scandia, Rainier, and Bow City.
Good morning, Adina Scandrip, Division 2, Tilly area.
Anytime. Good morning, Dan Short from Division 1, Rolling Hills.
Hi, I'm Lynette Kopp, Division 3, Patricia Millicent area.
I'm Pam Elliott, Admin Assistant Planning Development.
I'll remind everyone to use your microphones where you have them because we have people maybe online. I don't know that for a fact, but thank you. Go ahead.
I'm Maria Jackson, the Supervisor of Planning and Development.
And we'll start with you, sir. Yes. Earl Screever, thank you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. Thanks, Zachary. Hi, Jeff. Thank you. All right, let's get underway with this agenda. We have nobody excused from the meeting. We're all present. Minutes from the last meeting, October 20th. You've all read them in your package. How do you wish to handle them? There's one comment I have. We did edit the agenda last time. Holly added an addition to the agenda, so I wonder if you wanted to make that small edit or not. Sorry?
I thought I had, sorry.
Yes, you amended the agenda, but the motion is let's approve the agenda as provided. And so it's just one word.
I will change that.
Okay. Holly, you had your hand?
I make a motion to approve the
Motion
minutes.
to approve. Any other comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion? That is carried then. Call for post-agenda items. Is there any items? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda. Arno, thank you. All in favor of Arno's motion? That is carried. We'll start with the permitted use report 6. Shanna Lee, would you like to highlight anything or open for questions? Okay. Are there any questions for Shanna Lee? These are this is a report of the permitted use. Seeing none, we'll accept that as information. Thank you, Shanna Lee. Oops. And we're going to slip down to the next item. 7.1. Maria, will you be taking us through this one?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
can answer. Okay. Thank you. This is a subdivision application to subdivide a 3.901 hectare parcel or a 9.64 acre from a 160 acre parcel in the northeast of 171613 for residential purposes. The subject parcel is approximately 13 kilometers southwest of the hamlet of Tilly and north of Rolling Hills. The proposed subdivided parcel includes a house, Quonset, shop, and several outbuildings. The house and Quonset meet the required setbacks of the land use bylaw. The most northerly grain bin is 19.5 meters closer to the county road than the setback in the land use bylaw. An MPC may decide to grant a variance for this if they wish. There is also a building that intersects the proposed property line, and it would be recommended that this be removed if MPC would like that to happen prior to the finalization of the subdivision. The house is serviced by the rural water line for potable water, and there is an open discharge system for sewer disposal. The septic disposal system may need to be inspected to determine that it meets the Alberta Safety Code standard. And the applicant is actually working with Park Enterprises right now to make sure that it does meet the safety code or alter it to make sure that it does. So MPC may decide that the applicant is either required to disable the system or ensure that it meets the current code. This was circulated to adjacent landowners, and there was no comments or concerns from any of the neighbors. There were some comments from required referrals, nothing out of the ordinary. So it is recommended by staff that MPC approve the subdivision with conditions, being that all outstanding property taxes be paid, that the applicant enter into a development agreement if required, that the applicant supplies copies of utility right-of-ways, easements, and or agreements from the required referrals, that the applicant remove the encroaching building prior to finalization, and that the applicant can prove that the current septic system meets Alberta Safety Code or disable it. Thank you.
Questions? And Mr. Screever is here to answer. Neil.
Yeah, just one question, Maria. I didn't hear you mention the yard water from the EID. Is that? Like, they need a domestic to go with that subdivision, right?
And the question is, do we have water from the EID?
Yes.
The EID, right to the north of us is an EID spillway that always has water in it because it's a sort of reservoir for the Venture area. And EID a number of years ago put in a 10-inch culvert under the road. It's down about 12 feet. And it comes into our property. And then we have a pump set up, a well barrels, culvert set up, and then a pump, so we pump directly out of this well, which is fed
For your yard,
spillway,
for the trees and everything?
for everything.
Yeah, and that's a domestic agreement with the EID or just a spillway?
It must be because they put it in.
I would definitely think that should be double checked, because if you're on a spillway and they redo something, that doesn't guarantee you water when you're sitting there with a dry hump.
The water can't go away because then there's no water for the Bantry area. The Bantry pump.
I think what Mr. Johnson is referring to is that you need to check with the EID that you will continue to have use of that water after it becomes an acreage, right?
Yeah, you got to get it on paper. That's all I'm saying, because it isn't right now, right?
Maria.
The EID always gives us their general conditions for all subdivisions. In those conditions is that all irrigation acres be removed from the proposed subdivision, that the lot may no longer be irrigated for agricultural purposes, that to be granted a rural water use agreement for the proposed subdivision, the applicant must return a minimum of 2 irrigation acres back to the EID and pay the applicable annual fees. So that would be the domestic water agreement, and then all costs associated with the conveyance of water from EID infrastructure to the proposed lot shall be the responsibility of the applicant. One of the conditions that I have on most of the subdivisions is that the applicant supplies copies of utility right-of-ways and plans, and part of that would be an easement for water from wherever the turnout is for the EID to that proposed parcel. So that would be a condition that needs to be met prior to the finalization of the subdivision. The other thing, I guess, is that the EID signs consents for every subdivision that happens within the County of Newell. So if they decide they don't want to sign the consent, then the subdivision can't happen. So they kind of have the same sort of hammer as the county does once the approval happens at the final endorsement stage.
Thank you. Dan.
Just looking at the map, it's the subdivision sketch, I believe. No, yeah, it is. It looks like an overlap on the pivot to the boundaries that's there. Is that an actual overlap, or is that, if it is that a concern?
Okay, it'll be the southeast boundary is on a curve, and it follows the second tower of the pivot. And I checked with a valley over here, and they have an attachment where people drop the end tower. And so we don't do it now, but the future owner of the land maybe could put that attachment on and run his pivot past the yard and then bring it back and reattach it.
Any other questions? Lynette has one.
I would be ready to make the motion to approve with all conditions.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All in favor of the motion? That is carried. Thank you so much, Mr. Screever, for coming in and answering our questions.
Can you give me a copy of your condition? Okay, thank you.
You're going to look like that. Okay, let's carry on. Yes, Maria.
I apologize, the variances weren't on my condition list. So could we speak to the variance for the grain bin and the potential removal of the encroaching subdivision?
Okay, and would you like separate motions for each one?
Or the motion could just be revised to include that?
Revised to include.
That's okay.
Okay, Dan, would you be open to that? Oh, Lynette, thank you.
Yes, I'll revise my motion to include the variance as a condition as well.
Thank you. All in favor of that edit? Oh, Ellen.
Now, the one grain bin, is that the very northern one that has the 3 in a row? So is that really necessary to move that one? It doesn't look too bad to me.
My thoughts on that is when you're doing a subdivision, make everything correct at the get-go. Then it's not, well, we let this go and we let this go. If you set everything up as he's doing all this anyway, then it's all correct.
Maria, you have a comment?
That can be the decision of MPC. I suppose I would recommend that the variance be given to the grain bin because that's kind of historically what has happened, but remove the encroaching shed.
That's what you want, okay. So that is carried. We voted and that carried, okay? Let's move along to 7.2.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This application is to subdivide an approximate 7.25 acre parcel from a 158 acre parcel in the southwest of 251516 for future residential purposes. The subject parcel is approximately 2 kilometers west of the hamlet of Scandia and adjacent to the Bow River in Division 4. The proposed subdivision is vacant pasture land and is cut off from the remainder of the irrigated quarter by Township Road 15-4. The applicant has obtained the services of Tetra Tech Canada to provide a desktop slope stability assessment on the proposed subdivision to ensure that this parcel is able to sustain development. It has been determined that the location can sustain development so long as the development follows the precautionary measures and recommended setbacks outlined in the report. The study also verifies that the location is out of the 1 in 100 year floodplain. The applicant has obtained the services of a certified septic installer, and it has been determined that the location is suitable to hold a personal septic disposal system. The parcel has been identified to be historically significant, but because this is the first parcel subdivided from the quarter section, historical resources approval is not required. Having said that, provisions of the Historical Resources Act still apply. So if anything is discovered once they start development or soil disturbance, then they are required to notify Alberta Culture and Status of Women for further direction. This was circulated to the adjacent landowners and required referral agencies. We received the standard conditions or requirements from the EID, Fortis, ATCO Transmission, TELUS, and Canada Post have no concerns. It is recommended that MPC approve the subdivision to create 1 new parcel with the following conditions: that all outstanding property taxes be paid, that a development agreement be registered on title with the final plan, and any utility right-of-way plans, easements, or agreements which are required be registered at the same time. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you mention septic? What's the plan for that? You did? Okay. Can you run that by me again?
Sure, they did obtain a certified septic installer who went out and took soil samples, and it has been determined that those soils can sustain a PSDS system. Okay. Private septic disposal system.
Yeah, okay. Just so long as it's not an open discharge, right? That's all I was thinking. Any questions? Ellen has a question.
Actually, it sounds like they really have their ducks in a row on this one, and I would be in favor of approving this subdivision.
Are there any other questions? Ellen's made a motion to approve. All in favor of that motion? That is carried. Sorry? Oh, did they? 7.4.
Thank you.
7.3, did I skip one? Okay, sorry. Yeah, I did. 7.3.
Good news, approved.
Sorry. Apparently it's, yeah. Go ahead, Maria.
Okay.
When you're ready.
Thank you. So this is an application to subdivide an existing 6.88 acre parcel in the southwest of 2216 into 2 parcels. one 1.72 acres and the other 5.16 acres respectively for residential purposes. The subject parcel is located in Division 9, approximately 6 kilometers south of the hamlet of Gem. There are 2 houses currently on the parcel, and the applicant would like to create separate parcels for each of the houses already located on the property. The houses are serviced by the regional water line, and each property has a septic field. Land Use Amendment Bylaw 2038-22 received 3rd reading from Council on October 20th. To rezone the lands as a residential rural district, which allows for the further subdivision of this small parcel. This application was circulated to the required referrals and adjacent landowners. There were no comments received from adjacent landowners. The applicant is currently working with Pioneer Gas in order to supply 2 separate services to the parcel. And then standard letters received from the EID and Fortis. So it is recommended that, a municipal reserve is required for this parcel. So if approved, because this is not the first parcel out of the quarter section, the municipal reserve policy would apply. And it is recommended that reserve be taken as cash in lieu on the 1.72 acre proposed parcel for the sum of approximately $688. So that's using the land value that's determined in the policy times the number of acres that are proposed to be subdivided and then 10% of that. So it is recommended that MPC approve the subdivision with the conditions and that the reserve be taken as cash.
Neil, question.
From last meeting, what number did you use for the municipal reserve?
The land value for that is $4,000 per acre.
Yeah, we got to go over that, right? Someday.
Any other? Ellen.
Oh, I'm just looking at the map and it looks like they got physical access. I would assume that it is physical and legal access to the small part, the 1.72 acres. It's hard to see because of the trees.
Maria.
Yes, we actually discussed this with Municipal Services as well, and they do have 2 approved approaches on this, yeah. Another point is we do have something coming to council soon to the next CAL meeting to discuss municipal reserve.
Go ahead, Arnold.
Oh, just make a motion to approve based on the recommendations of staff,
Okay.
please.
We have a motion. Do we have any other questions on this application? Seeing none, all in favor of Arnold's motion? That's carried.
Okay.
7.4.
Thank you. This is a application to subdivide a 10.2 acre parcel from 149.2 acre parcel in the northwest of 1917-13. The subject parcel is located in Division 2, approximately 9.5 kilometers east of the hamlet of Tilly. The proposed subdivided parcel is an empty pivot corner. There is a pivot on the parcel. The applicant has indicated that this pivot does not encroach onto the proposed subdivision. An EID earth canal passes immediately adjacent to the south of this proposed subdivision. Access to the proposed parcel is from Range Road 14-0 and Township Road 17-4. The Subdivision Authority bylaw does state that subdivision authority may only approve one subdivision on an unsubdivided quarter section within the agriculture general land use district. However, 2 historical subdivisions were completed on the northwest of 19 for residential purposes. They are both bounded by the EID Earth Canal, so they would be considered a cut-off parcel. And because of this, the proposed subdivision could be considered the first parcel out of the agricultural parcel. We circulated this to adjacent landowners, and there were no comments received. Again, the standard comments from the EID and from Fortis. Alberta Transportation is willing to waive their section 18 and 19 of the subdivision development regulations. So this one for municipal reserve, there are some options. Although this could be considered the first parcel out, if we take into consideration the entire quarter section, this would be the third parcel created from the quarter section. So municipal reserve can be required. So some of the history, municipal reserve was paid at the time that the cutoff parcel was subdivided from the quarter section, was paid in cash. So for this reason, the proposed subdivision could be treated as the first parcel out. MPC could consider deferring the municipal reserve payment to the remainder of the quarter to be dealt with at the time of further subdivision of the quarter. So there is a deferred reserve caveat on the title of the northwest of 1917-13 for 15.78 acres. So what happened in, I believe it was 1976 when this was subdivided, there was an approximate 4-acre EID canal right-of-way, which has now been pipelined. The right-of-way is gone. And I'm not really sure what the reasoning is, but the municipal reserve was paid in cash for that cutoff parcel and then also deferred to the quarter section. So staff is recommending that municipal reserve be deferred to the remnant parcel by caveat for the 10.2 acres that's being subdivided, that the existing deferred reserve caveat be discharged. That's what we're recommending. The other option is to take municipal reserve as money in place of land on the 10.2 acres for an approximate $4,080. The land value used for that is $4,000 per acre. So staff recommends that this subdivision be approved with the conditions that taxes be paid, that the applicant enter into a development agreement and supply any utility right-of-way plans, easements, and/or agreements that are required. Thanks.
Great. Questions for Maria on this one? Holly.
In terms of policy, how often are we deferring or putting caveats for future land reserve? Like, are we setting precedent? Is this a good way to go? It's a little hard for me to make a decision there.
Maria.
That's a good question. This one is really kind of a beast of its own. We don't really come across these that often. And I guess it's something that needs to be determined by MPC. So there are a few factors you can consider. That this is the third parcel out of the quarter section if you remove the cutoff parcel part of it, which really is only a subdivision policy. Subdivision policy and municipal reserve policy can be sort of separate if that's how you decide. So you can request that money be taken. In terms of first parcel out, the MGA has a policy that says that municipal reserve isn't required for the first parcel out. So that's where this could be considered first parcel out because money was paid for the other two subdivisions. Deferment can happen, and then maybe in the future, this parcel there's an application before MPC to subdivide further, say 10 lots or, country residential, multi-residential parcels. Then there is the option to take land at that time for schools or parks or anything of that nature. If that is maybe something that can happen down the road. So there are a few factors that kind of play into that decision.
If I may, that's the long answer. And the short answer is typically we don't defer. But I can see where Maria says this is different. Reserve has already been paid on the first two. And if this kind of activity is going to go on, we're protected by the caveat. So it's MPC's decision ultimately how you want to handle it. Neil.
I think we should take our reserve and just clean it up.
Keep it clean.
Yep.
Ellen?
I see it a little differently because it has been paid prior and this is considered the first parcel out. I would be okay with deferring it.
Dan?
So I got to correct, both of those two subdivisions have paid municipal reserve already.
Maria?
Yeah.
That's right.
Lynette? And then
Mine's a little different question here. On it, it says that it's the subdivision for agricultural purposes, but it's 10 acres. Can you explain why that stays?
Maria?
It's actually for residential purposes. So the plan is to make this into a residential parcel. So that's incorrect, thanks. Or I'll change that.
Good catch. I think Arno has a question if you're, no, you don't, okay. Any other questions on this application? We have a couple of different opinions on the reserve decision. Go ahead, Greg.
I'd like to move with deferral as per staff recommendation
Okay,
on this one.
thank you. We have a motion. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of the motion? That is carried. Opposed? Opposed to the motion? You need to vote, Mr. Johnson. Oh, did you?
I already
missed you. Okay.
Mrs. Christie.
All right, thank you. So that motion is carried. I'm calling you out, hey? Oh. $7.5, moving along.
Okay, this is the last one for today.
Okay.
This is an application to subdivide a 20.96 acre parcel from a 160 acre parcel of the northeast of 1917-13 west of the 4th for residential purposes. The subject parcel is located in Division 2, again about 9.5 kilometers east of the village of Tilly. The proposed parcel includes a modular home, a garage, two sheds, a pump house, and a dugout. There is a pivot on the parcel. The applicant has indicated that it does not encroach onto the proposed subdivided parcel. So the subdivision authority bylaw states that the subdivision authority may only approve one subdivision on an unsubdivided quarter section within the Ag General Land Use District. The proposed subdivision alters the boundaries of an existing 5.34 acre parcel. Therefore, this application would not increase the number of parcels out of the quarter section and would be considered a boundary line adjustment. The access to the proposed parcel is from Township Road 17-4. The applicant is currently discussing access options with Alberta Transportation to the remnant parcel. The northeast of 19 and the northwest of 19 are registered as an irrigatable unit with the EID, and that's on the title of both parcels. So access could be granted through an easement on title through the northeast of 19, or alternatively through the subdivided parcel. This was circulated to required referrals and adjacent landowners. No objections from adjacent landowners. The standard conditions from Fortis and the EID, as well as Alberta Transportation. Conditions to be considered would be that all outstanding property taxes be paid, that the applicant enter into a development agreement, that the applicant supplies copies of utility right-of-ways, easements, or agreements, and that, I'm going to change number 4 here just a little bit, that legal and physical access be established by the applicant prior to the finalization of the subdivision. The reason I'm rewording that is because the applicant is talking to Alberta Transportation. So if Alberta Transportation does approve access via Highway 875, then an easement is not required. However, if Alberta Transportation says no to that, then an easement will be or should be required by the applicant to provide access to that remnant parcel. Municipal reserve is not applicable, as this would be the first parcel out of the quarter section.
Okay. My question is the jagged edge. What is the purpose for that? Can you tell me that?
That is a poorly placed arrow that you can't really see. So it's not a jagged edge, it's a square. If this, is that what you're talking about right there?
Oh, no. I was looking over on the subdivision sketch, sorry. And it's not that application, so. Oh, I will leave that question alone. Arno has a better question. No, you don't.
Oh,
okay.
And actually, I can maybe speak to that a little bit. Okay. So the original parcel is this jagged edge here.
Yes.
Yes. So in the previous land use bylaw, there were subdivision policies that stated that a subdivision could only be 7 acres in size maximum, and it needed to follow the farmstead or the developed area. So that's one of the reasons we will see some of these historical subdivisions with kind of funny lines because of that policy. In this case, the applicant has indicated that the pivot does not encroach on those acres. And so staff does feel that this is an okay proposal to increase the boundaries.
Okay, Lynette had a question. And then Arno.
So they're increasing the size of that. So it's the yellow is what they're wanting. The black was what was before. Is that?
Go ahead, Maria.
Yes, that's correct. So they will be removing these black lines that will be consolidated with everything else in that yellow area.
Arno, and then Ellen.
And one way or another, access to the existing parcel quarter section will be resolved either with Alberta Transportation or with an easement through the new subdivision. That's what I understood you to say, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's correct. If MPC is okay with staff dealing with the legal and physical access after a decision is made on the subdivision, then that will have to be established prior to the final endorsement of the subdivision.
Good.
Okay, Ellen had a question.
Yeah, I noticed that the subdivided parcel is over 20 acres. Now, previously in the land use bylaw, it was called, I believe, small holdings. Is that still the case, or do we not call that small holdings anymore?
Go ahead, Maria.
Previously, the applicant would have had to do a land use amendment to change this to small holdings in order to subdivide anything larger than 7 acres. When we updated the land use bylaw and then did the subdivision authority bylaw, the intention was to remove red tape and skip that step, because historically the land use amendment was just kind of a step that they needed to go through, and there was not a lot of well, maybe no denial of that land use amendment. So now we're saying that the subdivision size can be flexible based on the individual application, assuming that no agricultural land is taken out of production and that the criteria of the subdivision and development regulations are met.
Great. Red top reduction, I like that, red tape.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any further questions, direction? MPC? Dan?
I move we approve the subdivision with staff recommendations and allow them to handle the easement and access.
Thank you. Any further? Call the question. All in favor of Dan's motion? That is carried. Subdivisions in our rear view mirror. Moving on to 8.1. Shanley. Good morning.
Thank you. 2022098 is for an application for a shipping container that will be used for residential storage in the ADJOURN subdivision. The applicant is not requesting any variances. The applicant has an approved development permit from July of 2022 for a moved-in dwelling. The moved-in dwelling is not on the parcel as of yet. The applicant also obtained a permit for a temporary manufactured home to live on the parcel until the moved-in dwelling is able to be moved onto the parcel. So there was no issues or concerns from staff. There was 2 adjacent landowner letters from the circulation. IDP responded that they had no concerns and did not request a meeting. Mr. Walonga is here to answer questions. He is the owner of the land, and I've provided an option for approval, which is what Planning and Development would recommend for the shipping container, with conditions.
Good morning. Just in case MPC has any questions for you, welcome. Okay, we have this development permit application in front of us for a shipping container. Any questions? Yes, Holly?
Well, we have a housing there, temporary housing, but one of the letters talks about animals going in and out of the house. So I'm kind of confused of this, what's on the site right now.
Well, the decision here though is about development, right? So how does, I'm wondering if your question isn't bumping into another area of, Maria, did you want to, or Shanley?
I'd like clarification, I guess, what is on the property right now, what is being used?
Okay.
Like what do we have on the property is being used? I should be more clear in my question.
Good deal. Thank you. Sir? Shanley?
So currently on the parcel, there is the shipping container, the accessory structure, and the temporary manufactured home. Mr. Walonga has a development permit, as I said, for the manufactured dwelling, and he has applied for all the construction permits for the manufactured dwelling. However, he is not currently living there, correct? And the construction permits are being obtained right now.
So today we're dealing with the shipping container. Just to stay focused on the application in front of us. The other applications will come at another time. Yes, go ahead.
The dwelling and both dwellings were permitted uses, so they're already approved.
Thank you. Okay. Lynette has a question.
Is the shipping container where it's supposed to be? On the pictures, it looks like it's very close to the fence line. Like, is that part of what we're deciding here, or just if he can have it?
Shanley?
The shipping container is on the parcel and it is not located where it needs to be. So if it is approved, it does need to be relocated.
Good clarification. Neil?
You just lost me on that temporary. I'm just concerned if we approve this, it's going to turn into just kind of a not very pretty lot. What's the temporary house being used for?
Shanley?
The temporary manufactured dwelling will be used as a dwelling, and the applicant has obtained a 1-year permit for the temporary dwelling. So either in 1 year, the dwelling needs to be removed, or when the moved in home comes onto the parcel, the temporary dwelling needs to be removed, because you can't have 2 dwellings on a rural residential parcel. And that's a condition on the temporary dwelling, that it be removed within 1 year.
That's a condition that's tied to this development permit? Like, it has to be gone one way or another in a year. Even if there's not a new one there.
That's correct.
Amanda?
I'm just looking here under the shipping container, under the land use bylaw, and it says, shall not display advertising, name, or other marketing. And I noticed there was some advertising on that shipping container. Another thing I'd like to address is, shall be visibly screened from the public road adjacent properties in a manner in which satisfied development authorities. So are we meeting those?
Annalee, go ahead.
I actually didn't notice that there was advertising on the shipping container, so I'll have to look into that. So there is a condition that they have to similar or complement the principal building. So we could add a condition that it be painted, if that's something, and we could add a condition that there be screening. In my experience, we haven't used the screening condition since I've been here for shipping containers.
Sir, is there in fact advertising on the shipping container? Sorry?
It's just an old enzyme, C-can with enzyme. It's not really advertising.
Oh, I see. So a paint job would fix that up then? Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other questions, conditions, concerns? Holly and then Dan.
According to a letter from a resident, a nearby resident, the goats on that property are in excess of what we allow. So do we approve permits when they are they're already not following other conditions? Where does that leave us if we're approving, we know there's problems and those aren't addressed and we're approving others? I don't know how we deal with that.
Yeah, so Matt.
Yeah, so we are dealing with the goat situation under the animal control bylaw. So I think really the decision today is solely related to the shipping container approval.
Yeah, Dan.
So when I think shipping container, I'm thinking just a plain old C-can, but I'm looking at this thing and it looks like an exhaust on the roof from maybe a generator. Is there an active generator in there? Or that's going to be a noise concern, or is this just a straight up holding container?
Just, yeah, we have one generator there for now, is working there because you will never connect with the electric. So just the generator is there.
So what is your intended purpose for this container? It'll be heated?
All the container, everything is there, is heating.
Everything.
So everything is under control there.
And your purpose will be for storage or for living in or for What's your plan for the shipping container?
The one of shipping container, we put some stuff because we was living to the big house. So now we was renting other place. So now we moved to our place, and the other stuff we put to the storage. So the shipping container, we're gonna put some stuff there.
Okay. Dan.
So you're saying it's a heated storage?
Yes, please.
And how loud is that generator and how often does it run?
Is that 12 hours? 12 hours.
12 hours. Did you get your question answered about the noise factor? That was the second question.
Yes,
How loud is that generator?
No, it's very silent, and there's inside to the small.
I see.
Something big, yeah.
Yeah, so it's inside and it's very quiet. I guess where we're struggling, sir, is it's a very industrial looking property in a residential section, right? That's where we're struggling. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think our goal is today, I talked to my sister here, Shangli. Today we can we buy another property at Township Road 174. I think is the agent. Yeah, so today is almost more than 8.9 acres. So today we're gonna go to finish the deal today, to sign in everything and to pay.
Yeah.
So if everything is okay, it means we're gonna park everything from there to down there.
Okay. Yeah. Except this shipping container that we're applying for today, probably, right? Yeah. Okay. And you'll get required permits when you move to 174?
According to the law, I'm gonna do that.
Oh, okay. MPC, help me out here. Neil.
Did I just get that right? All this stuff's gonna be moved off?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yes, sir.
Why are we bothering asking for a permit then?
Except the shipping container is what I had clarity on. He's applying today for one shipping container. Is that correct, ladies? Maria.
So right now, this is a development application for the shipping container on this property. There may be an instance where it is moved off and all the buildings are moved off if in the future new land is acquired. But this is for that structure on this land, and right now it's for a permanent CCAM there. I don't think that you can consider it being moved unless you want to consider a temporary permit, but the intention is and correct me if I'm wrong, the intention is that right now this is the land that he owns and this is how he would like to develop it.
Adina, and then Matt.
So I just want to clarify, we're asking for permission to have a shipping container here because it's already here, right? So whether or not he moves it later, we need to decide because it is already there. Okay.
Matt? Got it. Okay. Thanks, Adina, for clearing it all up for all of us. How do you wish to move? Neil, you have a question or?
Just an explanation. What would be, I'm uncomfortable with a little bit of this. What would be wrong with a temporary for a year just to see where this thing's going? Or is that not even in the cards?
Shanley.
You could, the motion could be made for a temporary shipping container. And Mr. Willonga can maybe explain a little bit further. So he currently owns this parcel. The other parcel he doesn't own yet, but the papers are supposed to be signed today, so in case something goes south with that, he wants to make sure that he moves forward with what he's got on the land he does currently own. Is that correct? Yes. But yes, we can make a motion to have it as a temporary permit for this one and the one following that's for the same parcel.
Dan?
And what if we were to table this for, say, a month? If something new comes up, you withdraw your application. If it doesn't, then we can approve it as need be or deny, whichever it goes on. Is that going to affect anything if we just tabled it for, say, a month or so?
Maria?
The CCAN is there already. So I think that it's important to deal with what's on the property now.
Arno and then Lynette.
Just clarification with regard to the recommendation that we have from staff here. Staff is aware of all of the existing conditions and situation on that property and is recommending that we approve the installation of a shipping container that's already there. That is the recommendation of staff, right? I make a motion that we go with the recommendation of staff to approve the shipping container as per the recommendation that is before us.
Okay, Lynette and then Adina.
My only comment to add to Arno's, I was basically going to say the same thing, just with the conditions of it being painted and being put where it's supposed to be with the proper setbacks.
Would you be open to that amendment?
100%, absolutely.
Okay, Adina, got it? Okay. We have a motion. Everybody clear about the motion? Dan?
Does it have to be painted or just then make sure the signage is removed or no advertising there?
No, yeah. So painted is the wording that was used. We'll leave it as painting. Okay.
Just a question for the applicant. You're comfortable to paint over the signage that's there? Are you comfortable with that? Yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay. We have a motion. All in favor of Arno's motion as amended? That is carried. Thank you. Thank you for coming in, sir. Oh, yes. Stay in the hot seat. We're on to 8.2. Go ahead, Shanley. Thank you. This is for the same parcel. It's the approval of an accessory structure that will be used as an animal shelter. There's no variances requested. Again, there was 2 adjacent landowner letters. The animal control bylaw currently that we have allows for 4 goats with 1 acre of roaming pen. The applicant intends to keep 4 goats on the parcel, and he is requesting to have a shelter for those goats. The shelter is currently like a semi-truck trailer, but the applicant would like to take the wheels off of it and make it into what would look like a shipping container. And in your package, there should be a sketch of what the applicant is requesting to do with the accessory structure. There is, I provided an option to approve with conditions, and I've another option to refuse with the reasons of refusal because it interferes with the amenities of the neighborhood and because there's been objections from the adjacent landowners. In discussions with our team earlier, it was mentioned that if there was an approval, there could possibly be a timeline for and a security for improvements if that's something that the Municipal Planning Commission would like to have as a condition. Questions on this application? Dan?
That's a pretty big shelter for 4 goats.
Yeah.
Is it your intent to maybe, if you get this new parcel, to take that down to the new parcel? Because that's really big for 4 goats.
Well, thank you very much for that question. Like I said before, we was living at a 2,400 square feet house. Now we are going to live at, I don't know, 400 small house. And even if we're gonna put animal there, maybe we're gonna do some separation between the animal, and then we're gonna put some stuff there. Because from a 2,400 square feet house, now you come to live to the 900 square feet mobile home. There's a huge difference here with a lot of stuff we have of furnitures.
Lynette?
So it's going to be another storage facility as well. Do we have rules on how many of those can be on a property? Like, can you have 2 sea cans? Because that's basically what this is going to be like. Is that actually allowed?
Yes, that is allowed.
Holly, and then Dan.
I believe you also have chickens. Is there a limit to number of chickens with the 4 goats? And where will the chickens be staying?
Go ahead, Maria.
We do have an animal control bylaw. I don't know the exact amount of chickens that are allowed, but I know someone probably, 0. Okay, so there is an allowable number of animals based on the size of the property. So if you can have a certain amount of goats or a certain amount of chickens or a certain amount of whatever animal. So I guess chickens would be allowed if there were no other animals.
Sir, can I ask, do you understand that you've purchased residential land, not farmland?
Yes, please.
Yes, you understand that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Dan?
My question was back to the allowed usage of storage containers, shipping containers. That would be a separate permit as we just approved the last one, right? Or is it just that we've approved a shipping container so he can put however many shipping containers he wants?
Maria?
This would be treated as a separate application. So what was just approved was for that specific shipping container for storage. This application is for a trailer that will become an animal shelter.
Neil has a question.
Yeah, back to my temporary application. This is getting out of control. Like, we've got a tractor trailer in there, we've got a sea-can, we got 2 modular homes, and we got 2 adjacent landowners complaining.
I'd agree with that.
We have to have some way of making this thing turn out good in the end. Like, right now, it isn't.
Okay. Amanda?
I'm looking here. You can't have an accessory building without a principal building. Now, is that you're going to move your modular home off there? That is the principal building. And what if your other one's not there? You have to have one before you have the other. So I'm just curious, how's that going to work?
Shanley?
I just think that was miscommunicated in the early one. All of the shipping container will not be staying if the rest gets moved off. If the other land purchase happens, everything is going to be moved, correct? Yeah.
Dan?
I'd like to move that we take option 2 and that we refuse the development permit as our staff has it written there.
Okay, option 2, that's a motion. Any other questions? Comments? Call the question. All in question?
Could we give them a little bit of time to straighten this out? In your motion?
That's not typical. It's not in the land use bylaw. The application is on our books. Let's stay with the application. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of Dan's motion, option 2. That is carried. Thank you so much, sir, for coming in and answering our questions.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, we had no post-agenda items. Do we have any request for in-camera conversation? Hearing none. Question period. Todd, do you have any questions? Does MPC have any questions?
Hello again. No. We have nothing
No
on.
and no. All right. I will adjourn the meeting.